Hello everyone. So this is a new initiative that is taken by PW OnlyIAS related to current affairs of an optional subject. So today we will discuss about current affairs related to political science of last 2 months. In last 2 months, whatever important events have been happened and how those events can be incorporated into your optional strategy. So we will be discussing about all those current affairs aspect. Deliberately, I have chosen those topics that can easily be integrated into your paper 2, because students often come to me and they ask, sir, what is to be done for the dynamic portion of paper 2? Remember, paper 2 of PSIR syllabus, it consists of two sections, section A and section B. Section A is 70% static, or rather I would call it 75% static and 25% dynamic. It means that static areas are to be clubbed with current affairs, to be clubbed with so you are having knowledge of static areas, then current affairs knowledge can be integrated. Whereas in paper 2 section B, it mainly deals with India's foreign policy section. Yes, in India's foreign policy section, students often encounter this problem. They ask this question that is it entirely based upon current affairs? No. Questions are very seldom in optional paper is entirely based upon current affairs. It's seldom. You will find very rarely that they ask a question based upon only current events of last 3 months. So the question which they ask is basically theme-based questions, and those theme-based questions, it requires the knowledge of at least last 3-4 years of events. In foreign policy section, what I will try to do while dealing with a particular topic, I will also be discussing here about its static portion, and then we'll try to integrate the static portion with dynamic areas. So suppose something has happened related to India's trade relations with China. Now, on financial year ending on 31st of March, we will get to know about the exact status of trade between India and China and what are the issues pertaining to it. Now, in Sino-Indian trade relations, those current affairs knowledge can be integrated. Likewise, I included one area, that is India-China LAC agreement that was signed recently. I included that into your current affairs for optional. Now, this portion, it can not only be added to Sino-Indian relations, but you can also add the knowledge. You can also use this knowledge for your general studies as well. So I will try to cover all the areas related to foreign policy. I will try to cover all the areas related to Indian government and politics. Whatever new events are happening in the world, those new events will be covered through your current affairs magazine, or whatever new events related to Indian government and politics is happening within our country, that will also be incorporated into the current affairs lecture. So this is a very unique initiative. You try to get benefit out of this unique initiative, because this unique initiative will greatly help you out in your optional paper. Because every optional student faces this dilemma. हर ऑप्शनल स्टूडेंट के सामने यही डिलेमा होता है कि पेपर 2 कैसे करेंगे डायनेमिक पोर्शन, क्योंकि एक बार हमने क्लास अटेंड कर लिया है, अब नई चीज़ों के बारे में हमें पता क्या चलेगा, कैसे चलेगा. यू डोंट नीड टू डू एनीथिंग, यू जस्ट अटेंड द लेक्चर, यू कीप ऑन जॉटिंग डाउन द पॉइंट. आई कैन अश्योर यू that you can easily write an answer of 150 words, 200 words, 250 words, and moreover, questions are not entirely based upon current affairs only. They use current affairs, they integrate current affairs with a static portion. तो आपको स्टैटिक पोर्शन के बारे में भी पता होना चाहिए. जैसे वो आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं कि ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ऑफ इंडियाज लुक ईस्ट पॉलिसी इनटू एक्ट ईस्ट पॉलिसी. अभी आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि लास्ट 1 ईयर में क्या हुआ है, but you should also know about the background of India's look-east policy and how has this transformation happened, starting from India's look-east policy to India's act-east policy when the idea was given by present Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So a story of India's look-east policy started with PV Narasimha Rao's government, and then it got transformed into India's act-east policy, and now what is happening in present circumstances. So this question is not entirely based upon current affairs. So they do not ask question entirely based upon current affairs. They ask you to know about the background also. Background, you need to have the background information of last 3, 4, 5 years. अगर आपके पास last 3, 4, 5 years का background information है तो आपके लिए चीज़ें बहुत आसान हो जाएंगी. जैसे अभी recently इसराइल और जो अभी पैलेस्टाइन कन्फ्लिक्ट चल रहा था, तो उस कन्फ्लिक्ट में हमें सीज फायर देखने को मिला है ड्यू टू द इनिशिएटिव ऑफ अमेरिकन प्रेसिडेंट. अब हमारे लिए बहुत लॉजिकल सा एक सवाल ये खड़ा हो जाता है दैट इंडिया मिडिल ईस्टर्न यूरोप इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर, दिस इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर लॉजिकली बिकम्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू. ASEAN summit happened, so obviously India-ASEAN relations becomes very important. If Quad summit has happened, so of course China, India and New Delhi's Quad dilemma. What is the Quad dilemma and how this dilemma can be resolved? It becomes important from exam point of view. Or 16 BRICS Summit happened. So obviously it needs to be incorporated into your static areas, your static knowledge. So they do not ask questions solely based upon current affairs. Those questions are theme based questions, and those themes you will find often repeated. So even in current affairs, you do not be basing your preparation based upon the current affairs of last 2 months. No, you should be knowing about the background information. If you do not have background information, I tell you that things are going to get very difficult for you, and you will not find these materials at one place. So we have tried to we have started this initiative that in every month, if a topic is relevant from exam point of view, the topic will be included, and how the topic can be utilized into your optional paper. जैसे for example, इंडिया मिडिल ईस्ट एंड यूरोप इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर, अभी इस टॉपिक का कैसे इस्तेमाल हो सकता है आपके ऑप्शनल पेपर में. वी विल ऑल्सो बी डिस्कसिंग अबाउट मकाइंडर्स थियरी एंड अल्फ्रेड महान्स थियरी एटसेट्रा एंड कौटिल्यास थियरी, कि कैसे इसको हम यूज कर सकते हैं फॉरेन पॉलिसी में बाय इंटीग्रेटिंग विद आइडियाज ऑफ दोज स्कॉलर्स. अभी ये एक ऐसी चीज है कि करंट अफेयर्स का इंफॉर्मेशन अगर आपको मिल गया कि अच्छा ये इंफॉर्मेशन मुझे आईआर के थियरी को इस तरीके से यहाँ पर इंटीग्रेट करना था, तो ये आपके लाइफ को स्लाइटली इजी बना देगा. आई वोंट से कि पूरी तरीके से आसान हो जाएगी लाइफ आपकी, बट हमारी तरफ से ये एक ऑनेस्ट इनिशिएटिव है कि जो भी उस 1 महीने में हुआ है उस न्यूज़ को कवर किया जाए. क्योंकि जब मैं डिस्कस कर रहा था तो मैं टीम से डिस्कस करते समय तो मेरे दिमाग में ये बात आई जब मेरे से ये कहा गया कि सर वो 1 महीने के करंट अफेयर्स का ऑप्शनल का जो भी क्वेश्चन हो रहा है, जो भी चीज़ें हो रही हैं, डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है, उसको आप अपने लेक्चर में इनकॉर्पोरेट करके और बच्चों को प्रेजेंट कर दीजिए. तो मैंने कहा इट्स अ वंडरफुल इनिशिएटिव, क्योंकि PSIR ऑप्शनल में बच्चों के सामने एक सबसे बड़ी समस्या ये होती है कि हमने स्टैटिक एरिया को पढ़ लिया है, अभी इस बार हमने कोचिंग कर लिया है, अब क्या होगा, नाउ व्हाट. अभी अगर मुझे एग्जाम के लिए अपीयर होना है सपोज 2026 में, तो मुझे कैसे पता चलेगा कि मुझे क्या करना है और नहीं करना है. हम लोग कोशिश करेंगे यहाँ पर मैं बहुत बल्कि चीज़ों को ना बनाऊं, उतना ही रखूं कि जितने से आसानी से चीज़ें कवर हो सकती है. सो नाउ लेट अस बिगिन विथ आवर टॉपिक. और मैंने एक और चीज़ यहाँ पर किया है कि मैं जो भी चीज़ें न्यूज़ में है मैं बेसिकली PPT में थोड़ा कम यूज़ करता हूँ क्लास में, लेकिन करंट अफेयर्स के इस इंफॉर्मेशन के लिए PPT यूज़ करने का पर्पस ये है कि आपको अपने आंसर में करंट अफेयर्स के नॉलेज को उतना इंटीग्रेट करना है जिससे 150 वर्ड्स और 250 वर्ड्स का आंसर लिखा जा सके. कोई रूल नहीं है कि कितने वर्ड्स का क्वेश्चन वो पूछेंगे. किसी साल में हो सकता है कि वो आपसे 300 वर्ड्स के क्वेश्चन भी पूछते, तो वो पैटर्न चेंज करते रहेंगे. सो इट विल कीप ऑन चेंजिंग. तो इसलिए ऐसा देयर इज एब्सोल्युटली नो सच रूल. आपके पास ये इन्फॉर्मेशन होना चाहिए कि मेरे पास अगर साइनो इंडियन रिलेशंस पर कोई क्वेश्चन आया है तो मैं रिसेंट जो इवेंट्स हुए हैं मैं उसको अपने नोट्स में इंटीग्रेट कर लूँ. या मान लिया इंडियाज लुक इस पॉलिसी में जो रीसेंट इवेंट हुए हैं उसको मैं अपने नोट्स में इंटीग्रेट कर लूँ। इससे क्या होगा कि जो करंट अफेयर्स के चैलेंजेस हैं आपके पीएसआईआर में, वो करंट अफेयर्स का चैलेंज आपका खत्म हो जाएगा। तो ये एक अच्छा इनिशिएटिव है। आप इस इनिशिएटिव का अपने ऑप्शनल के पेपर को इम्प्रूव करने के लिए यूज़ कर सकते हैं। मेरी पूरी कोशिश होगी कि लेक्चर को बल्कि ना करने दूँ, पूरे महीने भर के 5-6 इश्यूज़ को पिक करके और उसको मैं ऑप्शनल के पेपर से इंटीग्रेट करने की कोशिश करूं। Especially it will be based upon paper 2, but sometimes I will also be taking up issues related to paper 1 Indian government and politics, क्योंकि वहाँ पर भी पॉलिटी के काफ़ी सारे टॉपिक्स ऐसे आ सकते हैं जिससे रिलेटेड पेपर पूछा जा सकता है, क्वेश्चन पूछे जा सकते हैं। पेपर 2 में काफ़ी सारे ऐसे क्वेश्चंस होते हैं कि वो करंट अफेयर्स से इंटीग्रेट करके आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे। नाउ लेट अस डिस्कस अबाउट द फर्स्ट टॉपिक, दैट इज इंडिया चाइना LAC एग्रीमेंट दैट वाज साइंड। अब इस टॉपिक को समझने के लिए आपके पास अंडरस्टैंडिंग होनी चाहिए इंडिया चाइना बॉर्डर एग्रीमेंट के बारे में कि इंडिया चाइना बॉर्डर का नेचर क्या है। अगर जब तक आपको इंडिया चाइना बॉर्डर के बारे में नहीं पता है, इस करंट अफेयर्स के न्यूज को आप यूज नहीं कर पाएंगे। स्टूडेंट क्या करता है, वो केवल करंट अफेयर्स के इंफॉर्मेशन को जानने की कोशिश करता है। वो कभी आपसे क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछेंगे कि LAC एग्रीमेंट हुआ है, बता दो कि क्या हुआ है। वो अभी कभी आपसे क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछेंगे कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने रिसेंटली आसियान के समिट में विजिट किया है, उसमें क्या हुआ है ये बता दो। आपसे वो क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे तो वो इंडिया के लुक ईस्ट पॉलिसी एक्ट इस पॉलिसी से कनेक्ट करके उस क्वेश्चन को पूछेंगे। साइनो इंडियन रिलेशन से कनेक्ट करके आपसे ये क्वेश्चन पूछा जा सकता है रिलेटेड टू बॉर्डर एग्रीमेंट। नोबडी इज गोइंग टू आस्क यू क्वेश्चन डायरेक्टली ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ व्हाट इज हैपनिंग राइट नाउ। उसके बेसिस पर कोई क्वेश्चन आपसे नहीं पूछने जा रहा है। दैट इज हाउ इट वर्क्स। तो इसलिए आपके पास थोड़ा सा बैकग्राउंड इंफॉर्मेशन होना चाहिए। मैं कोशिश करूंगा, पूरा तो नहीं, लेकिन मैं आपको ठीक ठाक यहाँ पर बैकग्राउंड इंफॉर्मेशन भी इशू से रिलेटेड प्रोवाइड करवा दूँ। नाउ लेट अस डिस्कस अबाउट द बाउंड्री अग्रीमेंट बिटवीन इंडिया एंड चाइना। व्हेन यू विल लुक एट बाउंड्री अग्रीमेंट बिटवीन इंडिया एंड चाइना, सो अगर आपने बाउंड्री देखा हुआ है मैप में इंडिया और चाइना का, तो आप रियलाइज करेंगे कि वो बाउंड्री कुछ ऐसा है। Starting from Ladakh sector, it goes till Arunachal Pradesh. This area is known as western border. This area is known as middle sector, and this area is known as eastern sector. और सबकी अपनी अपनी स्टोरी है। सबसे ज़्यादा स्टोरी ईस्टर्न सेक्टर की है और वेस्टर्न सेक्टर की है। मिडिल सेक्टर की स्टोरी थोड़ी कम है। जो वेस्टर्न सेक्टर में एरिया है वो नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न पार्ट ऑफ लद्दाख है। इट इज़ अ कोल्ड डेजर्ट। इट इज़ नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न पार्ट ऑफ लद्दाख और ये कोल्ड डेजर्ट है। जो मिडिल सेक्टर में एरिया है वो मिडिल सेक्टर का एरिया, इट इज द लीस्ट डिस्प्यूटेड ऑफ द एरियाज। अरुणाचल प्रदेश और उत्तराखंड का पोर्शन है, लीस्ट डिस्प्यूटेड एरिया है ये। यहां पर डिस्प्यूट सबसे कम है। और ये उत्तराखंड और हिमाचल प्रदेश का एरिया है, नॉट अरुणाचल प्रदेश। ये उत्तराखंड और हिमाचल प्रदेश का एरिया है। ये लद्दाख वाला एरिया है। और ये ईस्टर्न सेक्टर, ये अरुणाचल प्रदेश, सिक्किम और नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया वाला एरिया है जो ईस्टर्न सेक्टर है। एंड दिस एंटायर बाउंड्री इज ऑफ 3400 किलोमीटर लॉन्ग, approximately 3400. It is 3392 kilometers long. So it is approximately 3400 kilometer long. Approximately. Approx boundary is 3400 kilometer long. And remember that this entire boundary is a disputed boundary. Almost this entire boundary is a disputed boundary. In fact, यहां पर सबसे कम डिस्प्यूट आपको केवल मिडिल सेक्टर में देखने को मिलता है। ईस्टर्न सेक्टर में बहुत ज़्यादा डिस्प्यूट है और वेस्टर्न सेक्टर में बहुत ज़्यादा डिस्प्यूट है। तो बेसिकली अभी जो डिसएंगेजमेंट के बारे में बात चल रही है वो वेस्टर्न सेक्टर में चल रही है, न कि ईस्टर्न सेक्टर और मिडिल सेक्टर में चल रही है। ईस्टर्न सेक्टर और मिडिल सेक्टर में अभी इश्यूज हैं। मिडिल सेक्टर में सबसे कम इशू है। जो एरिया उत्तराखंड और हिमाचल प्रदेश वाला एरिया है वहां पर सबसे कम डिस्प्यूट है। बट मैक्सिमम डिस्प्यूट यू विल फाइंड हियर इन वेस्टर्न सेक्टर एंड देन यू विल फाइंड इन अरुणाचल प्रदेश। नाउ द स्टोरी ऑफ वेस्टर्न सेक्टर, इट गोज बैक टू 1962 वॉर। 1962 वॉर के बाद एक इमेजिनरी लाइन वॉज ड्रॉन बिटवीन इंडिया एंड चाइना। जिसको हम बोलते हैं लाइन ऑफ एक्चुअल कंट्रोल। तो बेसिकली लाइन ऑफ एक्चुअल कंट्रोल हमें क्या बताता है? ये बताता है कि 1962 वॉर से पहले का कंडीशन क्या था। 1962 वॉर से पहले इंडिया का क्या पोजीशन था और चाइना का पोजीशन क्या था। इसी को लेकर के देयर ऑलवेज रिमेन्स डिफरिंग परसेप्शन बिटवीन द टू कंट्रीज कि 1962 वॉर के पहले इंडिया कौन कौन से पॉइंट पर था और चाइना कौन कौन से पॉइंट पर था। और जो प्रेजेंट टाइम में हम लोग चैलेंजेस देखते हैं ये इसी डिफरिंग परसेप्शन की वजह से है। बट देर आर लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स रिलेटेड टू बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट। सबसे कम बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट यहां पर है मिडिल सेक्टर में, और उसके बाद बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट यहां पर है जो अरुणाचल प्रदेश का एरिया है। चाइना लेज इट्स क्लेम ओवर इंटायर अरुणाचल प्रदेश एरिया। एक और बात याद रखिएगा, इस पूरे अगर तुम बॉर्डर में देखोगे तो स्ट्रैटेजिकली केवल एक सिक्किम सेक्टर ऐसा सेक्टर है जहां इंडिया ऑक्यूपाइज हाइट्स एंड वेयर इंडिया हैज गॉट स्ट्रैटेजिक एडवांटेज ओवर चाइना। बाकी जगहों पर हिंदुस्तान को स्ट्रैटेजिक एडवांटेज नहीं है। केवल सिक्किम सेक्टर एक ऐसा सेक्टर है इस पूरे बाउंड्री पर वेयर इंडिया हैज गॉट स्ट्रैटेजिक एडवांटेज ओवर चाइना ड्यू टू ऑक्यूपेशन ऑफ हाइट्स। इन ऑल अदर एरियाज इट इज चाइना that is occupying heights and not India. It is approximately 3400 kilometers long. अब यहां पर हमारे सामने में सवाल आता है कि रिसेंटली डिसएंगेजमेंट क्या हुआ है। तो डिसएंगेजमेंट हुआ है आफ्टर गैल्वन वैली क्लैश in which 20 Indian soldiers got martyred and an unknown amount of Chinese soldiers, some British intelligence and American intelligence agencies say that close to 40 Chinese soldiers they died in this Galvan Valley clash. So almost though exact nobody knows about the exact figure. And then tension escalated between India and China. दोनों कंट्री के बीच में टेंशन उसके बाद बहुत बढ़ गई, बॉर्डर पेट्रोलिंग बहुत बढ़ गया। अब इस लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पर हमेशा से इस बात को लेकर के डिफरिंग परसेप्शन है कि 1962 वॉर से पहले का क्या कंडीशन था। तो चाइना कहता है कि नहीं, इस एरिया में, एक पर्टिकुलर एरिया में हम 1962 के वॉर से पहले थे। हिंदुस्तान कहता है कि नहीं, हम यहां पर पहले से थे। इस बात को लेकर के दोनों के बीच में देयर ऑलवेज रिमेन्स डिफरिंग परसेप्शन लीडिंग टू बॉर्डर स्कर्मिशेस। लेकिन लास्ट 50 इयर्स में साइनो इंडियन बॉर्डर पर जो किलिंग का केस हुआ था वो केवल गलवान वैली के केस में था। अदरवाइज 1967 में जो ब्रीफ बॉर्डर वॉर हुआ था सिक्किम बॉर्डर पर नाथुला के पास, उसके बाद से अब तक हमने नॉट अ सिंगल बुलेट हैज बीन फायर्ड। जो पहला वायलेंट क्लैश हमने देखा था वो गैल्वन वैली के केस में हुआ था जो 2020 मार्च अप्रैल में हुआ था। उसके बाद 1967 से लेकर के अब तक कोई उस बॉर्डर पे एज सच क्लैशेस, इतने बड़े लेवल पे क्लैशेस की बातें हमने नहीं सुनी थी। तो so it was recently in news because Indian Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, he announced that India and China have agreed for new patrolling rules. क्या है ये न्यू पेट्रोलिंग रूल्स? तो बेसिकली ये न्यू पेट्रोलिंग रूल्स टेंशन को डीएस्केलेट करने का एक तरीका है। अगर पेट्रोलिंग बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ जाएगी डिस्प्यूटेड एरियाज में, नंबर ऑफ फोर्सेस बहुत ज़्यादा होंगे इंडिया की तरफ से और चाइना की तरफ से, तो कन्फ्लिक्ट के चांसेस बहुत सिग्निफिकेंटली स्केलेट हो सकते हैं। इसीलिए हमारी ये लगातार कोशिश है कि नहीं, डीस्केलेट किया जाए। डीस्केलेट करने के पीछे का ऑब्जेक्टिव ये भी है that right now Indian economy is not in a position to take China head on. Chinese economy is 5 times bigger to that of Indian economy. So there is absolutely no point in becoming very passionate about containment of China and taking China head on. That will not be a very good idea. So India always looks at the opportunities to de-escalate tension between India and China. तो दिस अग्रीमेंट का पर्पज ये है कि 2020 के क्लैश के बाद जो बॉर्डर इश्यूज हैं, जो बॉर्डर पर टेंशन है, उस टेंशन को लोअर डाउन करना। नाउ देयर केम, सो what are the key points of this agreement? So first key point of this agreement is that pre-2020 border patrol routes to restore status quo. Pre-2020, remember, not post-2020. Because the condition that was in pre-2020 clash it was largely equanimity prevailed on the border. There was no conflict on the border. As such, border पे उस period में हमें कोई conflict नहीं देखने को मिल रहा था. इसीलिए ये कहा गया कि both nations they will try to resume pre-2020 border patrol route to restore the status quo. Then there will also be emphasis on completing troops withdrawal. That is a key issue over the 4 years. क्यों इसको एक key issue माना जाता है over the years, over the last 4 years? इसके पीछे का रीज़न है, इसके पीछे का सबसे बड़ा रीज़न ये है कि 2020 के उस गैल्वन वैली क्लैश के बाद टेंशन बिटवीन द टू कंट्रीज एस्केलेटेड. नंबर ऑफ ट्रुप्स गैदरिंग नियर डिस्प्यूटेड एरिया इट ऑल्सो सिग्निफिकेंटली इंक्रीज्ड. ट्रुप्स का जितना ज्यादा गैदरिंग होगा दोनों के बीच में कंफ्लिक्ट के उतने चांसेस होंगे. सो दैट इज व्हाई इट वाज बीइंग सेड दैट देयर विल बी ट्रुप्स विड्रॉल. दैट हैज बीन वन ऑफ द की इश्यूज एंड मिनिमल प्रेजेंस ऑफ ट्रुप्स इन दीज एरियाज. देयर विल बी फोर्स रिडक्शन जिससे कि सडन क्लैशेस जैसे कंडीशंस को मिनिमाइज किया जा सके. एंड रेगुलर बेसिस पर देयर विल बी नेगोशिएशन, देयर विल बी एंगेजमेंट बिटवीन द आर्म फोर्सेस ऑफ दीज टू कंट्रीज. अब आप मेरे से एक सवाल जो आपके दिमाग में चल रहा होगा वो दिमाग में ये चल रहा होगा कि सर क्या बॉर्डर इश्यूज का फाइनल रेजोल्यूशन पॉसिबल है? For that you need to go through the history of border dispute between India and China. And if you will go through the history of border dispute between India and China, it goes back to British period, all the way back to British period. कि स्पेशली वेस्टर्न सेक्टर में तो चलिए डिस्प्यूट स्टार्ट हुआ है 1962 के बाद. यहाँ पर तो डिस्प्यूट इट गोज ऑल द वे बैक टू 1890 एंग्लो चाइनीज कन्वेंशन जब हुआ था, एंड देन 1913 शिमला अग्रीमेंट. तो इसकी बड़ी पुरानी हिस्ट्री है, इसलिए इतना आसान नहीं है बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट को पूरी तरीके से रिसॉल्व करना. हम अपनी तरफ से ये कोशिश कर सकते हैं कि डिसएंगेजमेंट हो, कंफ्लिक्ट कम हो. इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ ए स्ट्रॉन्ग इंडिया चाइना रिलेशंस क्या है? इस एलएसी एग्रीमेंट का हमें फायदा क्या होगा? जनरली जब भी बॉर्डर पर डिस्प्यूट होता है दोनों कंट्री के बीच में तो आप एक चीज नोटिस करेंगे, टेंशन एस्केलेट्स, नेशनलिस्ट फर्वर इंक्रीजेस इन बोथ द कंट्रीज, और वो ट्रेड को सिग्निफिकेंटली अफेक्ट कर सकता है. दो बोथ इंडिया इज वन ऑफ द राइजिंग पावर्स, चाइना हैज बिकम almost like a superpower. If not today, then maybe 10 years down the line, China could become a superpower. So trade potential is significant. So it will significantly boost trades between the two countries. Then moreover, these two are bigger powers. So any close cooperation between these two countries that will eventually create the condition for regional stability. And then there will be lowering the risk of incidents like Galvan clashes, improved communication, and it will also increase communication. There will be improved communication between the two countries and reduced conflict. ऐसा कोई भी अगर डिसएंगेजमेंट का प्रोसेस होगा वो दोनों कंट्री के बीच में कंफ्लिक्ट को रिड्यूस करने का काम करेगा, एंड लीडिंग टू इवेंचुअली सॉर्टिंग आउट देयर डिफरेंसेस विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू बाउंड्री. नाउ देर आर इश्यूज, ऐसा नहीं है कि पूरी तरीके से इस जो एलएसी एग्रीमेंट हुआ है इसमें सारे डिस्प्यूट को रिसॉल्व कर दिया गया. देर आर एरियाज जो जहां पर डिस्प्यूट 2023 से मैं देख रहा हूं, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल दिप्सांग एरिया. दिप्सांग इस डिसएंगेजमेंट का पार्ट नहीं रहा है, बिकॉज इन दिप्सांग एरिया चाइनीज हैव बिल्ड सिग्निफिकेंट मिलिट्री इंस्टॉलेशंस. They have built significantly concrete based structure. Concrete structure उन एरियाज में उन्होंने बनाया हुआ है, and there is significant presence of Chinese troops in Dipsang. And then Dimchok area. So these two are not part of this LAC agreement that was signed between India and China by Indian Foreign Secretary Bikram Misri. Then challenges in resolving border dispute. What has been the challenges in resolving border dispute between the two countries? The first challenge, it remains, is historical dispute. The story of this border dispute, it goes back to 1962, even before that. For example, if you will look at eastern border of India and China, so you will realize that the story of eastern border, it goes back to even 1900, even 1962, even before 1962. I told you that 1913 Shimla Agreement is one example. Even before that, Anglo-Chinese Convention 1890. especially with respect to eastern border. So it remains a very complicated issue. A lot of history is involved. So it is also being considered as an unfinished agenda of and it is a leftover of history. So since it is a leftover of history, so you cannot think that border dispute will be resolved right now. It is likely to take time. Then both India and China are having very aggressive moves. Whenever India's relationship with the United States of America improves dramatically, you will find that very aggressive moves by China on Sino-Indian border. I still remember that Indian Prime Minister had visited Russia, and Indian Prime Minister had said that not a single bullet has been fired on Sino-Indian border in the last 50 years. This is what Indian Prime Minister said in 2019. And within a week, suddenly conflict erupted and Chinese forces were seen, especially in middle sector where we have least dispute with China. It is the least disputed area. And in middle sector itself, in towns like Barahoti in Uttarakhand, we found the presence of Chinese troops. Chinese helicopters were seen. So whenever India is trying to improve its ties with United States of America dramatically, or anything related to Quad happens, you will find that suddenly there will be very aggressive posture on the part of China on Sino-Indian border. So military aggressive moves by China, then military build-up, the lack of trust between the two countries. So there is hardly any trust between the two countries. Maybe because of historical reasons, and maybe because of what happened in 1962 when India felt cheated and China attacked India. लेकिन हम ये चीज़ देखते हैं कि दोनों कंट्री के बीच में एज सच ट्रस्ट नहीं है, और ये एक बहुत बड़ी समस्या है. एंड देन unequal agreements that buffer zones offer appear to favor China and causing imbalance. क्योंकि इसके पीछे का एक और बड़ा रीज़न है इंडिया और चाइना के बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट में. जो मैप्स चाइना के पास है और जो मैप्स इंडिया के पास है, उनके टाइम में बड़ा फ़र्क है. हमारे पास जो मैप है वो ब्रिटिश पीरियड के मैप्स हैं. उनके पास जो मैप है वो 13th सेंचुरी और 14th सेंचुरी के मैप है. बिकॉज पेपर प्रिंटिंग प्रेस ऑल यूज्ड टू बी अवेलेबल इन चाइना in the Middle Ages itself, and that is why the maps which they have got is 400-500 years old. The map which we have got is only 200 years old. So that is why whenever negotiation on those lines happens, keeping in view history of last 500 years or map exchange, so obviously China will have an upper hand. But the world does not move like this. How far back in history you want to go back? If you want to go back 200 years back in history, someone else would say that why not 500 years? Someone else would say why not 1000 years? So how far back in history you want to go back? But before British period, the map which they have got, it gives them slightly an upper hand in case of map exchange. So whatever buffer zones exist, it creates an imbalance, because in buffer zones it primarily favors China. So but if border disputes are being resolved, there is absolutely no denying this fact that it is likely to help both India and China. Then what are the steps to resolve the dispute? One is you address specific issues like prioritize contentious zones like the Psang and Demchok, where we do not have any resolution of conflict. Then ensure equity design agreement that will benefit both equally. So it should not look like a lopsided agreement which is benefiting only one country. Then there should be continuous dialogue between the two countries. Dialogue can be a way forward. And then you need to have significant high level visit between the two countries. That is also likely to improve relationship between the two. So that is how in future we can improve our ties with China. So ध्यान रखिएगा इस पूरे के पूरे टॉपिक में तुम्हारे पास हिस्ट्री का नॉलेज भी होने चाहिए. तो मैं थोड़ा बहुत हिस्ट्री का नॉलेज यहाँ करंट अफेयर्स में आपको दे सकता हूँ, बट नॉट मच. आपके पास अगर हिस्ट्री का नॉलेज है देन यू कैन इजिली कनेक्ट कि क्या चल रहा है. और फिर क्या होगा कि सपोज आपने क्लासरूम में पढ़ा है साइनो इंडियन बॉर्डर अग्रीमेंट के बारे में, अभी कोई एलएसी अग्रीमेंट हुआ है, यू कैन इजिली कनेक्ट, अदरवाइज आपके लिए वो कनेक्शन डेवलप करना विल बी अ वेरी डिफिकल्ट टास्क. सो now let us move on to India-ASEAN relations. Again, the same thing. That even though Prime Minister attended ASEAN Summit, still it is not a news that can be directly asked in the paper. So what do students do? Student इस चीज़ को लेकर परेशान रहते हैं कि सर ये जो करंट अफेयर्स का इवेंट हुआ है क्या ये डायरेक्टली एग्जाम में क्वेश्चन आएगा? नहीं, दे विल नॉट बी आस्किंग क्वेश्चन डायरेक्टली इन द एग्जाम. अब जैसे साइनो इंडियन बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट है, डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन नहीं आएगा, वो बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट से कनेक्ट करके पूछेंगे, वेयर यू कैन यूज दिस करंट अफेयर्स इंफॉर्मेशन विच वी जस्ट डिस्कस्ड. सो लाइकवाइज इन इंडिया आसियान रिलेशंस डायरेक्ट ये करंट अफेयर से क्वेश्चन नहीं आएगा. करंट अफेयर्स से जो भी क्वेश्चन आएगा वहां पर इस करंट अफेयर्स के न्यूज को आप यूज कर सकते हैं. सो इट इज अ वेरी रॉन्ग नोशन ऑन द पार्ट ऑफ स्टूडेंट कि सर मुझे करंट अफेयर्स बेस्ड अगर कहीं क्वेश्चन आ गया तो मैं क्या करूंगा. डोंट वरी. You need to know about the background. What has been the background of India's Lookist policy starting from 1992? If you know about the background till now, then adding current affairs, adding value to your notes is not a very difficult task. मैं हमेशा स्टूडेंट से कहता हूं कि अगर आपका एक बारी मेजर एरिया स्टैटिक एरिया कवर है अकॉर्डिंग टू सिलेबस, तो आप रियलाइज करेंगे दैट थिंग्स विल बिकम फार मोर इजियर फॉर यू. सो साइनो इंडियन रिलेशंस. Prime Minister of India participated in 21st India East Asia Summit and India-ASEAN Summit in Laos. And this is likely to enhance India-ASEAN relations. India and Southeast Asian nations, India's relations with Southeast Asian nations. And in this summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he unveiled a 10-point plan which is aimed at further strengthening these ties. अभी आपके दिमाग में ये क्वेश्चन आएगा, क्या ये 10 पॉइंट से डायरेक्टली क्वेश्चन मेंस में बनेगा? नहीं बनेगा. You need to know about India's lookist policy. You need to know about India's actist policy. And then you can add this information. Are you getting my point? So the idea of India's lookist policy was originally given by Lookist policy was originally given by P.V. Narasimha Rao in 1991, and then idea of actist policy given by present Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2014. Now, what is the difference between India's lookist policy and actist policy? Differences are merely of degree than of kind. There is no fundamental difference between India's lookist policy and India's actist policy. Are you getting my point? There is absolutely no fundamental difference. There is only one difference is, in India's lookist policy, proactiveness was missing. We had goal, but we did not know how to achieve those goals. But in actist policy, we became more proactive in our approach. We had a blueprint to achieve our goals. You got this point? So the transformation that happened from actist policy to lookist policy, you will realize that a couple of changes are there. It had limited geographical spread. One, it was limited to Southeast Asia. Proactiveness was missing. We did not know how to achieve our goal, how to strengthen our ties with countries of Southeast Asia. Whereas in actist policy, we witnessed geographical spread of this entire policy. It came to include a number of countries within the ambit of India's actist policy. We became very proactive in our approach. We knew precisely what to do and what need not do in this regard. So these are the countries that are part of ASEAN. I have mentioned here about the countries that are part of ASEAN. ASEAN as an organization, it came into existence in 1967. You would be surprised to know that India was invited to become a member of ASEAN in 1967 itself. India rejected this offer because of Cold War environment. Then Indo-ASEAN relations and this 10-point plan for better connectivity and resilience. So basically India is trying to enhance ties with countries of Southeast Asia, and that is why this 10-point plan has been given by Prime Minister, Indian Prime Minister, to enhance connectivity between the two countries and to make India-ASEAN relationship resilient, which can stand the test of time. So these are the 10 points. You don't need to memorize these 10 points. Even if you know that a 10-point agenda has been signed for better connectivity and resilience, that includes green hydrogen, cybersecurity, etc. 2-3 point. How to enhance trade, then year of tourism between the two countries, like year 2025 is known as ASEAN India Year of Tourism. Then, so all these points can be incorporated in your answer. Even if you do not memorize these 10 points, no one is going to ask question from you related to these 10 points. You only need to use these points in your answer. So now let us discuss about, and then future action plan starting from 2026 till 2030 was also signed, wherein leaders agreed on a new ASEAN India plan of action to strengthen the partnership, adopting two joint statements, and digital transformation, partnering for peace, stability, and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. So remember, India's ties with ASEAN also needs to be looked from the angle of Indo-Pacific. That both India and ASEAN countries and ASEAN is interested in bringing peace, stability, maritime freedom, etc., and rule of law in Indo-Pacific region. Remember that idea of Indo-Pacific was originally given by Trump administration in 2016, wherein Asia Pacific was renamed by Trump administration as Indo-Pacific, under which centrality of India was accepted. Centrality of India was accepted in this entire region, and it was said that it is India's responsibility to bring peace, stability, and cooperation in this entire region, and then advancing digital transformation, acknowledging India's role in digital public infrastructure. Now there comes a very logical question. Let us discuss briefly about the historical overview of the relations. So India's look-east policy began during the time of P.V. Narasimha Rao. Now why this policy it came into existence? Because after disintegration of Soviet Union, India needed to diversify its foreign policy. So diversification of India's foreign policy happened after disintegration of Soviet Union. And once diversification of India's foreign policy happened, after diversification after disintegration of Soviet Union, so obviously maintaining good ties, extensive ties with countries of Southeast Asia, ये इंडिया और साउथ ईस्ट एशिया दोनों के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट हो गया, पहला. दूसरा, so India became initially, India's engagement began, then India became a dialogue level partner starting from 1996 till 2002, then summit level partner, and right now we are into a strategic partnership. So we are trying to improve our ties with each others in all the areas. In every area we are trying to strengthen our ties, and we have entered into a strategic partnership. And this relationship gone a step further when the idea of Act East policy was given by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2014, that further envisages to improve not only ties with southeastern part of Asia, but also to improve regional connectivity. So various projects have been undertaken to improve ties with countries of Southeast Asia. Now what are the key areas of cooperation between India and ASEAN? First, that our diplomatic engagement with ASEAN will increase. Then economic cooperation is likely to increase with ASEAN. Then maritime cooperation is likely to increase because both India and ASEAN countries, they not only share their maritime boundary. Remember that both are very fearful of the rise of China and its aggressive behavior. So that is why security and maritime cooperation has become a buzzword in Indo-ASEAN relation. ये एक बड़ा important part of हमारा cooperation है, maritime cooperation. Then connectivity और infrastructure, like trilateral highway जो बन रहा है इंडिया, म्यांमार, थाईलैंड से लेकर के को कनेक्ट करने के लिए, और फ्यूचर में ये प्रोजेक्टेड है that this trilateral highway would be extended to Cambodia also. तो फ्यूचर में ये ट्राइलेटरल हाईवे पूरे के पूरे साउथ ईस्ट एशिया को कनेक्ट करने की कोशिश करेगा, जो मोरे से स्टार्ट होता है. इट स्टार्ट्स एट मोरे इन मणिपुर and it goes all the way till Mesot in Thailand. ये बीच में म्यांमार को क्रॉस करता है and it ends at Mesot in Thailand. 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 It's a wonderful connectivity project. And then India also intends to strengthen its cultural ties and educational ties with countries of Southeast Asia. हम कल्चरल टाइज को भी लगातार इम्प्रूव करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. तो पूरी कोशिश ये है कि बाय इम्प्रूविंग कनेक्टिविटी विद आसियान कंट्रीज वी शुड ऑल्सो बी इम्प्रूविंग आवर टाइज विद आसियान एट मल्टीपल लेवल. हमें कनेक्टिविटी बेसिकली एनहांस करना है. देन की चैलेंजेस इन इंडिया आसियान रिलेशंस. पहला की चैलेंज इंडिया और आसियान के रिलेशन में है, ये यूएस चाइना की रिवैलिटी को इम्पैक्ट करेगा. कि इट विल इम्पैक्ट, दे विल एक्ट एज अ बैलेंसर. एंड मोर ओवर, सो टेंशन फ्रॉम इंडियाज इन्वॉल्वमेंट इन द क्वाड विल अफेक्ट आसियान डायनेमिक्स. क्योंकि आसियान की बहुत सारी ऐसी कंट्रीज हैं जिनका इंडिया के साथ भी अच्छा रिलेशंस है और चाइना के साथ भी अच्छा रिलेशंस है. एंड इफ इंडिया विल ओपनली गेट इन्वॉल्व इन कंटेनमेंट ऑफ चाइना, so this is going to affect the dynamics of ASEAN. That is why I said that impact of US China rivalry ये भी इंडो आसियान रिलेशंस को अफेक्ट करेगा. रीज़न ये है कि हमारा भी आसियान के साथ अच्छा रिलेशंस है, लेकिन कई आसियान कंट्रीज़ के चाइना के साथ भी बड़े अच्छे रिलेशंस हैं. एंड इफ इंडिया बिकम्स पार्ट ऑफ एनी ओपन कंटेनमेंट पॉलिसी ऑफ चाइना, वो चाइना को कंट्रोल करने के लिए किसी ऐसी ओपन पॉलिसी का पार्ट बनता है, देन इट इज़ लाइकली टू क्रिएट डिफिकल्टी. एंड देन इंडिया और आसियान का रिलेशन, अगर आसियान में हमारा प्रेजेंस बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ता है तो ये इट विल ऑल्सो कॉम्प्लिकेट डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेस इन आसियान. अगर हमारे और चाइना के बीच में टेंशन बढ़ता है तो कई सारी आसियान कंट्रीज़ के लिए भी कॉम्प्लिकेशंस क्रिएट करेगा, क्योंकि उनके भी चाइना के साथ अच्छे रिलेशंस हैं. इंडिया ने रीजनल कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इकोनॉमिक पार्टनरशिप अग्रीमेंट से अपने आप को अलग कर लिया. रीजनल कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव पार्टनरशिप अग्रीमेंट में a free trade area was to be signed between among 17 countries if India would have been the member. So member countries are 10 ASEAN member countries, 10 ASEAN, then one China, South Korea and Japan, 13, and then you have Australia and New Zealand. So India 16. So India, if India would have been a member. So then India did not sign Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. So right now member countries are 10 ASEAN member countries, and then you have China, then South Korea, then Japan, then Australia, then New Zealand. And India came out of Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. So there is a lot of disappointment with withdrawal of India. Then trade imbalance ऑल्सो एग्जिस्ट. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल नॉन टेरिफ बैरियर दोनों इंडिया और आसियान के बीच के रिलेशंस को इम्पैक्ट करते हैं. नॉन टेरिफ बैरियर मतलब जैसे टैक्सेस ज़्यादा हैं, एक्सपोर्ट और इंपोर्ट में बड़ी समस्या होती है, यहाँ से सामान एक्सपोर्ट वहाँ करना और वहाँ से इंपोर्ट यहाँ पर आना. की इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट में डिले है. चाइना बड़े बड़े प्रोजेक्ट्स इतने समय में कंप्लीट कर लेता है. द आइडिया ऑफ दिस ट्राइलेटरल हाईवे, it was originally conceived in 2012 itself. आज के डेट में 2025 हो गया है, लेकिन ये ट्राइलेटरल हाईवे अब तक कंप्लीट नहीं हो पाया है. सो दैट इज अनदर रीजन. एंड देन म्यांमार क्राइसिस. म्यांमार क्राइसिस की एक सबसे बड़ी समस्या क्या है? म्यांमार इज द ओनली कंट्री ऑफ साउथ ईस्ट एशिया विथ विच इंडिया शेयर लैंड एज वेल एज मैरीटाइम बाउंड्री. बाकी किसी के साथ हम लोग लैंड तो शेयर करते नहीं है किसी आसियान मेंबर कंट्रीज के साथ, और म्यांमार में पॉलिटिकल क्राइसिस चल रहा है. So that has the potential to affect India's ties with Southeast Asian countries, because Myanmar, it remains entire Axis policy of India, it runs through Myanmar. If Myanmar remains politically fragile, then entire India's look-east policy will remain fragile. Remember, if Myanmar remains politically fragile, politically volatile, तो पूरे हिंदुस्तान की Axis policy में आपको challenges देखने को मिलेगा. So Myanmar crisis, it poses a lot of challenges for India. Why? Because then India would not be able to complete infrastructure projects on time to connect India with Southeast Asian countries. Then now, what is the way forward? The way forward is that we need to expand FTA. So we have signed free trade area agreement in goods, but in services and investment, it is yet to be signed between India and ASEAN. In 2016, we had an agreement, but it has not been so far signed. Then we also need to improve infrastructure projects on time. For example, जो trilateral highway है उसको जल्दी से पूरा करने की ज़रूरत है हमें. Air connectivity को promote करने की ज़रूरत है. Then we also need to focus upon digitization and manufacturing, and we need to support, reinforce a strategic partnership with ASEAN, and we can collaborate with ASEAN countries in multiple other areas like semiconductor, etc. So we need to take a number of initiatives. First, we need to improve connectivity between India and Southeast Asian countries. For example, we need to improve our ties with ASEAN countries by completion of such vital projects like India, Myanmar and Thailand, this superhighway. So initially this entire superhighway was being backed by United States of America. Also United States of America was encouraging India to complete this project. But so far India has not been able to do so. Japan also seems to be very interested in India's northeastern states. But due to political fragility in Myanmar, we faces a number of difficulties in strengthening our ties with ASEAN countries. Now let us move on to the next topic. The next topic is Quad dilemma for India. Now what is the Quad dilemma for India? What is meant by Quad dilemma? So the idea of Quad, originally the story of, if you will look at books, you will find that the idea of Quad, it goes back to, books say that it started during the period of Shinzo Abe, but the reality is that originally the idea of Quad, it started during the period of George W. Bush only, when George W. Bush was American president in 2004. What is this dilemma? Quad involves 4 countries: India, Japan, USA and Australia. Everyone knows that it is a containment policy of United States of America for containment of China in Indo-Pacific region. Now any such open and passionate campaign strategy, I tell you, is likely to pose a lot of difficulties for India. And then India's ties with China will become very strained. So that is why हमारा ties बड़ा strained हो जाएगा. यही Quad dilemma है, that whether to get involved with Quad completely or to have limited engagement with Quad, so that a message can be sent to China that we are not all out for containment of China. So this article was written by M.K. Narayanan. So I have tried to incorporate all these points from different newspapers. So it would be prudent for India to proceed with care, remember, in dealing with China. Why? Because I told you. So Quad dilemma means what? Quad dilemma means whether to go all in with Quad for containment of China or to have limited engagement with Quad, because everyone knows that this is a grouping that is meant to contain China. इस grouping के जरिए China को contain किया जाएगा. But I tell you that any passionate and open containment strategy of India in dealing with China is likely to cause a lot of challenges, a lot of problem. Any open and passionate containment strategy, ये बहुत सारा challenge create करने जा रहा है हिंदुस्तान के लिए. इसीलिए M.K. Narayanan also writes, former India's security advisor, former IFS officer, national security advisor. He says that we need to tread with caution in dealing with Quad. So originally, so member countries are obviously, as I told you, India, US, Japan and Australia. The focus is on regional security, economic cooperation and Indo-Pacific stability. Historical evolution, it started in 2004 because it was an informal grouping during the period of President George W. Bush for coordination related to tsunami in Indian Ocean region. That Quad grouping it evolved. वैसे पर्पस ये था अमेरिका का कि इन चारों कंट्रीज के साथ मिलकर के और चाइना को कंटेन किया जाए फ्यूचर में. 2007 में इन 2007 क्वाड का फॉर्मलाइजेशन हुआ जब शिंजो अबे जापान के फॉर्मर प्राइम मिनिस्टर थोड़े टाइम के लिए प्राइम मिनिस्टर बने थे उस टाइम में, वो 1 साल के लिए प्राइम मिनिस्टर बने थे। लेकिन क्वाड के आइडिया का रिवाइवल हम देखते हैं 2017 से, when Shinzo Abe was Prime Minister of Japan. Then once again revival of Quad. Shinzo Abe is considered a towering personality in Japanese politics, and he remained very interested in improving ties between ties among these 4 democracies. वो चाहते थे कि इन चारों democracies के बीच में ties को further improve किया जाए. So that is the Quad. So, and then now since 2021, leader level summits have started taking place. It means that these 4 countries, they have made a lot of binding, a lot of commitment to Quad for increasing cooperation in Indo-Pacific region. In every Quad summit, India says that, or Quad arrangement says that we are committed to a rule-based international order in Indo-Pacific region. Now, implicit objective of Quad is obviously containment of China. So, containment of China, it remains implicit objective of Quad. Can it be the explicit objective of Quad? No. Why? Because then countries like India and Australia would not be interested. So, containment of China, it remains implicit objective only. And India's balancing act that we want to align ourselves for regional security with these 3 countries. At the same time, we also want to mend our ties with China. And since there are a lot of tensions, so India-China relations are facing persistent challenges with respect to border tension, with respect to strategic priorities with each others. For example, in Ladakh sector, our relationship post Galvin, it deteriorated. Then there are other strategic priorities. जैसे for example, China South China Sea में territorial claim करता है, and China claims over entire South China Sea, over India's border issues. वो China के लिए priority है, क्योंकि वो South China Sea के ऊपर पूरा control चाहता है. It is one of the main arteries of global trade. ये सारी कंट्रीज ये चाहती है कि नहीं पूरे इंडो पैसिफिक रीजन में पीस स्टेबिलिटी हो. इसका ऑब्जेक्टिव यह है कि चाइना पूरे साउथ चाइना सी को कंट्रोल ना कर पाए. एंड and China has become very assertive under President Xi Jinping. So President Xi Jinping is the most powerful leader of China since after Mao Zedong. Most powerful, even more powerful than Deng Xiaoping. President Xi holds 3 most important positions in China. 1, he is Chinese president. 2, he is the chairman of China Military Commission. And 3, he is also the chairman of Communist Party of China, president of Communist Party of China. So these are the 3 important positions of China: Communist Party, Central Military Commission, and Chinese president. All these positions simultaneously are being held by President Xi Jinping. Now, India's strategic imperative. Now, what are the India's strategic imperative? A strategic imperative is that India needs to balance its ties with both China and West. We should not be entering into an open and passionate campaign for containment of China. That would prove to be counterproductive for us. That is why we need to maintain a balance in this regard. If we are not maintaining balance, I tell you that things are going to get very ugly and very difficult for us. Why? Because we share a very long and disputed boundary with China. In fact, you would be surprised to know that we share a boundary of 3,400 kilometers, approximately 3,388 kilometers with China. And this entire boundary is disputed. So any open campaign for containment of China is likely to open a Pandora box, a can of worms for India. वो हिंदुस्तान के लिए बहुत ही challenging situation होगा. Therefore, India needs to balance its ties with both America and with both Quad member countries for containment of China as well as China. So, India's strategic imperative is avoiding direct provocation. क्यों? Otherwise हमारे लिए multiple level पे problem खड़ी हो सकती है in this regard. And then we need to tread very cautiously because disengagement talks is still going on. That is important for both India and China. So these are the ASEAN issues. These are the Quad issue. Now अभी आपको कैसे यूज करना है इसको अपने ऑप्शनल पेपर में. क्वाड का जो भी आपने पढ़ा हुआ है अब तक, वहां पर इस इंफॉर्मेशन को उठा करके डाल दीजिए, खत्म हो गई बात. आपने साइनो इंडियन बॉर्डर पे जो भी पढ़ा हुआ है उसको उठा करके डाल दीजिए. आपने इंडिया और आसियान में जो कुछ भी पढ़ा हुआ है वहां पर इस करंट अफेयर्स के इंफॉर्मेशन को उठा के 150 वर्ड्स में पॉइंट वाइज लिख दीजिए. बहुत डिटेल नहीं लिखना है करंट अफेयर्स के न्यूज को, लेकिन पॉइंट फॉर्मेट में इतना लिख दीजिए कि इफ देयर कम्स 200 वर्ड्स 250 क्वेश्चन देन यू वुड बी एबल टू इजीली. और इससे क्या होगा कि एक लिंक बना हुआ रहेगा, जो अभी तक का इंफॉर्मेशन आपके पास है और जो इन करंट अफेयर्स का न्यूज़ है उन दोनों को आप इंटीग्रेट कर पाएंगे. इससे सबसे बड़ा बेनिफिट क्या होगा, एग्जामिनर को ये इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए होते हैं पेपर में. ऑप्शनल के पेपर में जब आप एग्जाम्पल देते हैं ना करंट अफेयर्स से, तो एग्जामिनर फील्स गुड. उसको ये लगता है कि नहीं, स्टूडेंट ने पढ़ भी लिया है और स्टूडेंट चीज़ों को अप्लाई करने वाले कंडीशन में भी है. इसलिए इन करंट अफेयर्स में जो हम क्लास में डिस्कस करेंगे, आप यूट्यूब पर मैं डिस्कस करूंगा, आप रियलाइज करेंगे दैट ऑलमोस्ट ऑल द नीड्स ऑफ करंट अफेयर्स कुड इजिली बी कवर्ड थ्रू दीज वीडियोस. आई वोंट से दैट 100%, क्योंकि 100% जैसी कोई चीज़ होती नहीं है, लेकिन अपनी तरफ से ये पूरी कोशिश होगी, एक ऑनेस्ट एफर्ट होगा कि जितना मैं ऑप्शनल के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से जो मैक्सिमम हो सकता है वो मैं यूट्यूब पे कर दूं विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू करंट अफेयर्स. Now 16 BRICS Summit. So BRICS Summit was hosted by Russia in recently held in Kazan. And this summit was significant as it marked the first meeting at the level of BRICS plus expansion, because now the expansion of BRICS is going to happen. So originally BRIC included Brazil, Russia, India and China. And the idea of BRIC was given originally by an economist of Goldman Sachs. His name was Jim O'Neill. So Jim O'Neill was the first person who gave the idea of BRIC way back in, I think, 1992 or 1994. He said that these four countries, that is Brazil, Russia, India and China, they are going to become the engine for global economy. Then in 2011, South Africa was included under the BRICS. So it became BRICS. So Brazil, Russia, India and China. Now, this 16 BRICS summit, it is important because of BRICS plus, that is expansion is happening. So included member countries are Egypt, Ethiopia, UAE, Iran and Saudi Arabia. Now history of BRICS evolution. So origin of BRICS, I have given here that Jim O'Neill, he said that these four nations, that is Brazil, Russia, India and China, are going to become the engine of global economy. This idea was given by him rather in 2001, not 1992, 2001. And then first informal meeting, it happened in 2006 in St. Petersburg. And first BRICS summit was held in Yekaterinburg. This question has also been asked in prelims. South Africa was added in 2010, and then BRICS Bank or New Development Bank came into existence in 2014 on the lines of World Bank and International Monetary Fund with a capital of $100 billion. And then 2023, it was announced that expansion of BRICS will happen. So these countries have joined BRICS. So BRICS, now it is not merely BRICS, it is BRICS plus. So key outcome is advocated for global governance and peaceful conflict resolution through dialogue. New payment system, but I don't think that this new payment system for replacement of dollar is going to be accepted by United States of America so easily. I tell you that it has caused a lot of friction in India's ties with America also. क्योंकि ट्रंप ने सीधे सीधे ये कहा है कि अगर कोई भी डॉलर के रिप्लेसमेंट को तैयार करने की कोशिश करेगा, देन वी आर गोइंग टू पोज अ लॉट ऑफ वी आर गोइंग टू इम्पोज 100% टैरिफ ऑन सच कंट्रीज. सो इट इज गोइंग टू पोज अ लॉट ऑफ चैलेंजेस हियर. देन There is also they are talking about cross border payment system, and a new currency is being developed by them. A new payment system that will replace SWIFT system for facilitating trade among member countries. जो आप बार बार सुनते हैं ना कि अमेरिका ने इकोनॉमिक सैंक्शंस लगा दिया, तो बेसिकली वो इकोनॉमिक सैंक्शन क्या होता है? कुछ नहीं होता. वो इकोनॉमिक सैंक्शन होता है कि मेनली इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड डॉलर के टर्म में होता है. तो अगर अमेरिका ने इकोनॉमिक सैंक्शंस लगा दिया है, इसका मतलब कि अभी वो जो डॉलर में ट्रेड हुआ है, जो अब आप डॉलर में ट्रेड नहीं कर पाएंगे. जैसे रशिया को स्विफ्ट सिस्टम से उन्होंने काट दिया, तो रशिया डॉलर में ट्रेड नहीं कर पाएगा. यही दिक्कत है. तो ये लोग कह रहे हैं कि नहीं, हम एक नई करेंसी डेवलप करेंगे, एक नया सिस्टम डेवलप करेंगे जो स्विफ्ट सिस्टम, जो अमेरिकन सिस्टम है, उसको रिप्लेस करेगा बेसिकली. सो एंड दे आर ऑल्सो एडवोकेटिंग फॉर यूनाइटेड नेशंस एंड इंटरनेशनल मॉनेटरी फंड रिफॉर्म, क्योंकि वहां पर डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज को बड़ा कम शेयर मिलता है. बेसिकली वहां पर डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज को बहुत ज़्यादा शेयर मिलता है. आईएमएफ में यूनाइटेड नेशंस की टोटल ब्यूरोक्रेसी इज बीइंग कंट्रोल्ड बाय ब्यूरोक्रेट्स फ्रॉम डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज. तो इनका जो मेजर एजेंडा है, जो कजान समिट का एजेंडा था कि पीसफुल रेजोल्यूशन ऑफ कन्फ्लिक्ट, अ न्यू पेमेंट सिस्टम फॉर रिप्लेसिंग स्विफ्ट सिस्टम डोमिनेटेड बाय यूएस, देन ensuring food security through agricultural cooperation, cross-border payment system for seamless transaction, and then global institutional reforms like reforms to UN and IMF. अब आंसर में आपको लिखना है, so these 5 points are more than enough. You can incorporate these points if a question comes, if question is related to BRICS. Now, what is the significance of BRICS? It is a platform for developing nation, and it is mainly a representative of global South. Global South means countries, developing countries. They are known as Global South. Then there is focus on prioritizing poverty reduction, food security, then climate change, then alternative to global institutions. 41% of global population and 28% of GDP is present in groups, these countries and BRICS countries, and they are also promoting de-dollarization. Now, what is meant by de-dollarization? De-dollarization it means simply that local currency, encouraging local currencies in trade. So, now what are the challenges of BRICS? So, challenges of BRICS are dominance. What are the challenges being faced by them? So, there is a fear that BRICS over the period of time may go on to become China's organization. That remains one of the fears associated with BRICS countries, that it may go on to become China's organization. Why? Because China is the most dominant power of BRICS. Then there is also economic disparities. Why? Because China obviously dominates this entire mechanism of BRICS. Then limited success in reforming Bretton Woods institution. We have been unable to reform Bretton Woods institutions like IMF and World Bank. Then there is also geopolitical tensions existing, and there is diverging viewpoint on conflicts related to Russia and Ukraine that further limits unity of BRICS, because even BRICS countries are not united. It is very difficult to keep them united because of tension between India and China. Tension between India and China is at more fundamental level. If somebody says that de-dollarization will happen and BRICS will take initiative, then I tell you that India would not be interested. India would never be interested, because for India, United States of America is important. So there are a number of countries under BRICS that will not go for an all-out de-dollarization. I tell you, they will not go for an all-out de-dollarization. De-dollarization means replacing dollar from the position of being the most important currency of international trade. Now, what is the way forward? A way forward is that there is a need to have equal cooperation in BRICS, and it should not be focusing too much upon anti-Western agenda, because the focus of BRICS has been anti-Western agenda. It should not be anti-Western. Because India cannot go on taking anti-Western posture always. In fact, India does not take anti-Western posture, and it is being believed that BRICS as an institution is taking anti-Western posture only. And then transparent expansion, like aligning new members with BRICS goals. There is also a need to have permanent secretariat so that coordination can be improved and efficiency can be improved. And there is a need of balanced influence, that is ensuring fair representation of all emerging economies. So BRICS should not be looking like a platform that is meant only to take anti-Western stance first, and it should not be looking like China's organization. It is not a China organization. It is an organization that is important for all. It is an organization that does not belong to a single country. So that's all about BRICS. अब जो भी आप BRICS के बारे में जानते हैं उसको BRICS समिट से के इंफॉर्मेशन से आप इंटीग्रेट कर लीजिए. ऐसे ही ऑप्शनल में आप करंट अफेयर्स से इंटीग्रेट करते हैं कि ऑप्शनल में हमेशा ये ध्यान में रखना है कि जो भी आपके स्टैटिक एरियाज हैं वहां पर डायनेमिक का इंटीग्रेशन होना चाहिए. पूरी तरीके से वो डायनेमिक नहीं होना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि करंट अफेयर्स ही केवल तुम पढ़ रहे हो और तुमको कुछ पता ही नहीं है ब्रिक्स के बारे में. अब ये सारी बातें जो मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, दैट ब्रिक्स इज नोन फॉर टेकिंग एंटी वेस्टर्न पोस्चर एंड इंडिया विल नॉट बी इंटरेस्टेड इन टेकिंग एंटी वेस्टर्न पोस्चर. अगर आप ब्रिक्स के बारे में जानते हैं तो आपको ये सारी कहानी पता होंगी. सो now let us discuss about another important topic, that is India and Middle Eastern Economic Corridor. This is one important topic. This India, Middle East and Europe Economic Corridor, it is completely going to transform this entire region. One, it is also being considered as an answer to China's Belt and Road Initiative, that is China's One Road, One Belt. So it will start at Mundra or Mumbai port. Then it will go all the way to UAE, Jebel. Then it will go to, then it will be Jebel port. Then it will be connected through rail link and road link to Riyadh, then to Israel, Haifa. And then again maritime sea route that will connect it with Piraeus port in Greece. So this entire region will be connected. That is why it is being considered as an answer to China's Belt and Road Initiative. It is not an ambitious project like that of China's Belt and Road Initiative, because in China's Belt and Road Initiative, they intend to invest trillions and trillions of dollars. Morgan Stanley in its report said that in the next 50 years, China's Belt and Road Initiative may attract investment worth 13 to 15 trillion dollars. But this project is certainly an answer to China's Belt and Road Initiative, because it is not only a maritime connectivity project. Through maritime route and rail and road and rail link, it tries to connect this entire region, starting from India, then Middle East, then ultimately to Europe, then entire Europe through road link and rail link. So it will be starting at Mumbai port and Mundra port in Gujarat, then Jebel port in UAE, then through road link and rail link to Saudi Arabia, then to Israel, and then Israel in Haifa port. It will go to till Haifa port, this rail link. And then from Haifa it will be connected to through maritime route to Greece. So this entire Europe, Middle East as well as India would be connected. And this will convert this entire route as one of the greatest destination for economic development, but easier said than done, because this route is also having a lot of challenges. This route is being has been conceived originally by countries like India and supported by United States of America. In fact, I still remember that when Israel and Palestine war happened on 7th of October 2023, then President Joe Biden said that it is due to India, Middle East and Europe economic corridor that this is happening, because Israel is going to play a very major role in this entire economic corridor. But there is absolutely no denying this fact that this project will be an answer to China's Belt and Road Initiative. So India Middle Eastern Economic Corridor has been in the spotlight, and it has been that this major initiative, it involves India, United States, European Union, countries of Middle East, which aims to shape global trade route and influences geopolitics. It is going to shape many things in the world. Then, so this entire project is backed by United States of America. Remember, without backing of USA, it would not have been possible. And USA has been allies with UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Israel, friend with India, and allies with entire Europe. So European Union, Israel, entire Middle East, and then India, supported by United States of America, is a part of this grouping, part of this corridor. This corridor has the potential to transform this entire region and become an answer to China's Belt and Road Initiative. Now, what is the key structure? So it links India with Arabian Gulf, boosting trade, and then it connects Arabian Gulf to Europe for direct and modern trade route. Key component, a railroad network, and then ship to rail system for faster logistics. And not only this, modern infrastructure would also be developed. For example, electricity grids would be developed, hydrogen pipelines would be developed, and high speed data cables would be developed. That is how this route is likely to transform this entire region. This has got tremendous potential. Participating nations are India, Saudi Arabia, UAE, USA, EU, and EU. Basically, entire European Union, UAE, Saudi Arabia, India, and USA are participating members. And this has the potential to transform this entire region. So he said, Joe Biden said that maybe it is due to this Middle Eastern corridor only that Hamas has attacked Israel so that the project would not take place. And there seems to me the involvement of other countries also in instigating Hamas. So there can be any number of reasons in this scenario of in this geopolitical rivalry. So now this economic corridor's objective would be emission of greenhouse gases, creating transportation network, cost reduction by lowering logistics cost, then economic unity, employment generation, etc. All these will remain objectives. Now, so India and Middle Eastern Europe economic corridor. It has how this can be added to your knowledge of political science. Remember that how to use these current affairs information in your political science. I'm not here dealing with current affairs per se. Here I'm dealing with not current affairs, rather I'm dealing with the current affairs that can be used in PSIR. So political thinkers perspective on India and Middle Eastern European corridor. First, Hans Morgenthau. So if you will go by the realism of Hans Morgenthau, then you will realize that this India, Middle East and Europe corridor is going to reshape entire region by countering geopolitics of entire region by countering China's Belt and Road Initiative. Then Alfred Mahan, he has talked about sea power, controlling sea. So this economic corridor, it will create maritime network, it will create land network, and it will also help in boosting India's image in the region, India's maritime dominance in Indian Ocean region. And then choke points like Suez Canal can be bypassed, and we will have an alternative trade route to have trade with entire Europe. So choke points like Suez Canal can easily be bypassed. Now third, Kautilya. Kautilya talks about strategic alliances. Now what is the meaning of this strategic alliances? That it reflects a realpolitik by forming alliances to bypass China's Belt and Road initiatives. So by forming these strategic alliances, we would be in a position to bypass China's Belt and Road initiative and thereby countering both China and Pakistan. And Joseph Nye, soft power. So India would be projected as a soft power in this among global trading community, and thereby amplifying India's soft power, leveraging sustainability and inclusivity to foster partnership. That is how you get marks in political science. That while dealing with India, Middle East, and Europe economic corridor, you will also be mentioning about these scholars like Morgenthau, like Alfred Mahan, like Kautilya, like Joseph Nye, etc. So, what will be its geopolitical implication? First geopolitical implication would be that it will help in providing counterbalance to China's Belt and Road Initiative and thereby reshaping Eurasian power dynamic. It will help in reshaping Eurasian power dynamic. China will not be remaining only power that controls the destiny of this entire region. So this project will seriously challenge China's Belt and Road Initiative, and then it will also strengthen intercontinental ties because it is fostering cooperation among different civilization, and moreover it will also provide opportunity to United States of America to counter China, to counterbalance China in the region, to contain China in the region. It will give India direct access to global market, direct access to Middle Eastern market, direct access to European market. So that is an added advantage for India. And moreover, India's relations with Arabian Peninsula, Arabian nations, important Arab nations, rich Arab nations, will also get a significant boost. So Indian companies would also get access to all these countries. And moreover, China is not a part of this economic trade corridor, so it would prove beneficial for us. It will influence it will increase our influence in entire region, also in Africa. That eventually this trade corridor would be expanded. So it will also help in increasing India's influence in Africa. Now, economic implication: the trade time would significantly reduce, I tell you, by 40%. Logistics cost. So one of the major cost in trade is logistics cost. So here Suez Canal would be bypassed. That remains the strategic implication and economic implication. So it will reduce trade time by 40%. It will boost industrial growth, trade. It will also help in increasing cooperation in new areas like hydrogen. So those because hydrogen based car is going to be seen very big time in future. And then enhanced energy security, because India would be connected directly with the Middle Eastern nations. Now, what are the challenges? There will be geopolitical instability in West Asia, and this geopolitical instability, so major challenges, it remains that West Asia is very politically volatile. Like I told you in case of ASEAN, that ASEAN is politically very volatile. Myanmar is politically very volatile, and entire Actis policy of India, it passes through Myanmar. So likewise, entire West Asian region is very politically volatile. So this political volatility, ये हमारे लिए एक बड़ा चैलेंज क्रिएट करता है. देन लॉजिस्टिकल कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी. वाई? बिकॉज मल्टी मॉडल ट्रांसपोर्ट यहाँ पर अडॉप्ट कर रहे हो ना. लैंड भी होगा, रोड भी होगा, रेल भी होगा, मैरीटाइम भी होगा, पोर्ट का भी इन्वॉल्वमेंट बहुत ज़्यादा होगा. इसलिए ये एक चैलेंजिंग प्रोजेक्ट होगा, मल्टी मॉडल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट होगा. देन मिडिल ईस्टर्न रीजन में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का सच बहुत इशू है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेफिसिट इन मिडिल ईस्टर्न रीजन. देन हाई डेवलपमेंट कॉस्ट, billions and billions of dollars per corridor. You will find $8 to $10 billion. This is a basic cost estimation per corridor. I believe that this corridor will require investment not less than $200 billion in future, because you need not only create infrastructure like ports and roads and rail, you also need to create facilities, different kinds of facilities. And then you will have competition from established routes like Suez Canal. तो ये एक अलग तरीके के challenges होंगे, and a lot of coordination would be required with countries like Saudi Arabia and Israel. What can be the way forward? एक वे फॉरवर्ड हो सकता है टू मेक इट मोर प्रॉफिटेबल कि आप इंडिया, मिडिल ईस्टर्न और यूरोप इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर को अफ्रीका तक एक्सपैंड करके ज़्यादा अफ्रीकन कंट्रीज़ को उसमें इन्वॉल्व कीजिए, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को जल्दी से जल्दी कंप्लीट कीजिए. अरब और इजरायली टेंशन को कम करने की आवश्यकता है. वो टेंशन बहुत ज़्यादा होगा तो ये प्रोजेक्ट सक्सेसफुल नहीं हो पाएगा. इसलिए जो बाइडेन ने कहा So American President Joe Biden said that perhaps this corridor seems to be the reason for Hamas attack on Israel on 7th of October 2023. They attacked on Israel due to this corridor only. So this corridor has got tremendous economic significance and tremendous geopolitical significance. If there will be escalated tension in Arabian Peninsula, I tell you that this corridor, it cannot be utilized. And then you will have a standardized technical aspects. You need to have a standardized technical aspect like train technology, container sizes for seamless operation, and a strengthened security to mitigate threats like piracy, because this entire region is known for piracy. Sea pirates, they dominate a part of sea. So these are the points that can be mentioned in India, Middle Eastern and Europe corridor. So remember that anything related to current affairs will not be directly asked in the paper. You need to know about other things also. So here we will mainly be focusing upon about those aspects that are primarily be given in current affairs, but I won't say that only on the basis of this knowledge you would be able to answer the question. You also need to know about static areas. अगर आपको static area के बारे में नहीं पता है, then I tell you that things will remain extremely challenging and difficult for you. तो static area पता है और फिर current affairs जो यहाँ मैं पढ़ा रहा हूँ, this is going to suffice, because every month I'm going to come out with the most important topics related to political science. Sometimes the lecture will be of 90 minutes, sometimes lecture will be can even go to 3 hours depending upon the nature of the topic, कि उस महीने में current affairs में क्या क्या चीज़ें आई हैं. समझ रहे हो मेरी बात? So if you are able to utilize this entire knowledge, it is going to immensely help you out in your PSIR optional paper, because this is a very good initiative, very unique initiative कि जो आपको ऑप्शनल पेपर में बड़ा हेल्प करेगा. स्टूडेंट हमेशा कहते हैं कि सर मेरा ऑप्शनल का खत्म हो जाने के बाद फिर मैं क्या करूंगा करंट अफेयर्स के लिए. जो भी चीज़ आएगी करंट अफेयर्स में ऑप्शनल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से मैं ऐड कर दूंगा. जैसे आपने आईआर की थियोरी पढ़ी हुई है, आपने रियलिज्म पढ़ा हुआ है, जो भी थिंकर्स मैं यहाँ यूज़ करूंगा पढ़ाते हुए आपने ऑलरेडी उसके बारे में पढ़ा हुआ है. सो यू वुड बी एबल टू इजिली कनेक्ट विद दोज थिंकर्स. हाँ, ये ज़रूर हो सकता है कि एक फ्रेशर बच्चे के लिए वो चैलेंजिंग हो, जो पहली बारी वो पढ़ रहा है, लेकिन जो बच्चा पहले से जानता है उन चीज़ों के बारे में उसके लिए चैलेंजिंग नहीं होगा. वो एक फ्रेशर बच्चा हो सकता है थिंकर के बारे में जानता ही ना हो. ठीक है. So that's all about this lecture. Thank you everyone. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this session, and we will come out with many more such sessions. हर महीने में आपको ऐसे सेशन मिल जाएंगे that will cover all the topics related to current affairs or PSIR. Don't worry. Just you keep on focusing upon these lectures. Sometimes these lectures will be of 90 minutes. Sometimes these lectures are going to be of even 3 hours. Long videos. So depending upon the nature of question, I will also be taking up a lot of topics if and when important topics comes from Indian government and politics, like Indian polity. Then I will also be taking up those topics. I will be taking up topics related to India's foreign policy also. I will keep it minimal so that your requirement for the exam gets completed. While going through all the topics, I also came across India and Canada, but I did not incorporate it in the lecture. Why? Because Canada is not in our syllabus. Italy, but Italy is not in our syllabus, so they are not going to ask directly question from Italy. They will be asking question related to India and European Union, but they won't be asking question directly related to Italy per se. They may ask question related to India and Britain. They may ask question related to India and European Union, but not Italy and not Germany. They may ask question related to India and France, because France is a permanent member of United Nations Security Council, but not India and Canada, not India and Mexico, not India and Peru, Chile and Colombia, etc. So that's all about today's this current affairs section. और दोबारा मुलाकात करते हैं नेक्स्ट मंथ में. दैट्स ऑल फॉर टुडे. जस्ट कीप ऑन इंटीग्रेटिंग दीज इश्यूज, these ideas into your static knowledge of current affairs. So that's all about this lecture. Thank you.